Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a super quick knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Civivi Hyperpulse. This knife is available right now. I'll link it down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to Civivi for supplying this knife for review. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this button lock knife. Overall length of the Hyperpulse coming in at just shot, nope, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna say it's about 7.9 inches overall. Blade length is 3.5 inches. Cutting edge is 3.35, bigger than you might think. How about some size comparisons? Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others, up against the 80-10 and the 80-20.5. Slim profile, but longer than the 80-20.5, way smaller than something like the 80-10. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3? Kind of in between. It's actually got longer cutting edge than both. And then finally up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. I would say it's the most similar to the Hogue Deca. How's the action on this knife? Civivi knows how to do a button lock. They're probably going to have the best feeling, most crisp action in terms of a true button lock or plunge lock on the market. They're also probably going to have more reliable lockup, right? I don't know if it's necessarily the best for a plunge lock, but they typically will stay locked out. You know, considering this is a lock that's not known for incredible reliability, Civivi does a good job with it. Very crisp, considering the plunge itself acts as the detent. The flipper tab is a little pokey, right? You'll notice it more if you push button. Well, light switch is going to be fine. Your thumb stud action is, despite me missing that, is actually really, really good, which is tricky to do with a combination flipper and thumb stud button lock, right? But yeah, it actually feels really, really nice. It's very organic, and these are domed off studs. They could have been a little bigger, but they're fine. Very, very comfortable. Action is good. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's about the same, really nothing crazy. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This is a very easy knife to carry. It's very lightweight, aluminum body, lots of holes, right? So this was super comfortable for me to carry. I only carried it for about a day and a half or so because it's super similar to like a bajillion other Civivi knives that are out there, and honestly just a bajillion other knives on the market, right? But yeah, my carry experience was exactly what you'd expect. Lightweight, compact knife for sure. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. As is the case with most Civivis, this is a T8 pivot, T8 body screws on both sides, and then you have two T6 screws for the pocket clip, which is ambidextrous in terms of the mounting position. So minimal hardware, and it's T8 throughout, so that's great. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Let's go ahead and weigh the knife. There's my scale right there. What are we looking at for materials? We're looking at 14C28N. We're looking for looking at aluminum for the frame here. So the weight, I would guess, is maybe slightly over 3 ounces. Right on 3 ounces is what we're looking at for the weight there. The next thing I would really like to do is to measure the blade stock thickness. Okay, so blade stock thickness is coming in at 118 thousandths or so. Just realized I'm missing the battery cover for those, so that's great. 118 thousandths as far as the blade stock thickness there, so pretty typical for Civivi. So we weighed it, we measured it, we did all that. Is it time for the meat and potatoes? I think it is. Look, this is a really straightforward profile. I mean, I've seen a lot of classic knife handle meets classic blade profile knives. This is essentially the same thing with some holes. We have holes here, we have holes here that they've added little things to the outside of just to give it slightly more personality. This has reduced the weight, and it does feel nice. The balance on it feels good. The ergonomic lines feel good. It feels comfortable. This is a ridiculously thin edge because it is hollow ground. It's very thin to begin with. You have Civivi's really, really nice factory edge, and on top of that, that hollow ground profile. So this thing slices. Wowzers, feels really, really good. You know, if they had not put holes in this they could have literally just called this the Civivi knife. I mean, it is very straightforward. There is nothing here that I can tell you about the blade and handle profile that you don't already know by looking at it, right? But they did a good job with it. It's it's exactly what you'd expect. There's no surprises here. And some people, when they're buying knives, that's kind of what they're looking for, is a no surprise, straightforward knife, right? What you see is what you get, for sure. And that is absolutely the case here. We got a nice swedge. We got a flat that runs out maybe 50% the length of the blade. Nice tip. Like I said, Civivi has an excellent factory edge. It'll, change as you sharpen it though, but it'll be very easy to maintain for sure. We have, like I said, ambidextrous mounting positions for the pocket clip. You've got a couple of standoffs back here. You have a lanyard bar. The holes, some people are going to like them, some people aren't. What are they for? These three big ones, like I said, definitely weight reduction. And it's nice. I mean, they did a good job. In fact, they have balanced it pretty much exactly where you're going to have your index finger right there. So it feels really lightweight in a good way, right? But you're still getting a substantial amount of blade, which is nice, right? Over 3 inches of blade for 3 ounces of weight. It's a pretty darn good ratio there. The little holes, they put them there because there wasn't anything there. That's my only guess. You can get these in a few different colors, including blue and gold, and I think they have one that's in Damascus or something like that, right? The gray one I think looks the best. Either way, as is the case with aluminum in general that's hard coat anodized, it's going to scratch up. It's going to mark up, right? So it doesn't really matter which one you get. It's just going to be the case there. But anyways, we have the typical Civivi Loch Ness Monster clip, which is definitely going to snag and grab on whatever you walk by and eventually bend out and become useless, but that's just what we have to deal with. So we have the ambidextrous mounting positions. Sorry, getting ahead of myself here. Ambidextrous mounting positions for the pocket clip. So if you're left-handed, you'll be operating the button lock with your index finger, which is not a big deal. In fact, I've made the argument many times that left-handed people probably have it better. It feels like a more organic way to manipulate a button lock, right? In terms of choking up, are there any spots where you could accidentally disengage the knife by accidentally landing on the button itself? No. Because there's no real choke up spot. There is, but not really a safe one. And not enough where you're going to bend your finger around and like accidentally touch the button. If you're left-handed, same thing, because in the standard hammer grip, you're not on top of the button. So that's great. That's actually nice. They're just like, nah, just don't make a choke up spot and then nobody's tempted and then people aren't accidentally disengaging it, which is great. I think that that's nice. So that's pretty much it there. The lockup or the stop pin is located in its traditional position, which is what we'd expect. No blade play, up, down, left to right. Slight stick off the button, but that's pretty typical with plunge locks. It'll eventually go away. It might actually get worse before it goes away, but it will eventually go away. We have no pivot lash, very smooth and consistent. And here Civivi does a great job, not only with bearing action, but anything that's operating on a plunge lock or like this all feels incredibly smooth. In fact, pretty much any system that they utilize ends up feeling really, really smooth. And then again, take a look at this. The plunge lock is not a detent ball. It's a plunge lock acting as the detent. Real nice, like just really nice. Most plunge locks are mushy or crunchy. Not the case here. No detent lash whatsoever. And then we have a nice centered blade. What's the price? $69, giggity. A little higher than I would have expected. I mean, honestly, like if you're looking at that price thinking, I don't know. You're right. You can look in Civivi's own library of knives and find things that come in $10 or even $15 less for essentially the same thing. I'm not sure why they wanted a little more for this one. It's not a bad price. It's still a budget knife, but it's like, what's special about this, right? Again, like if you don't care if the steel doesn't have to be 14C28N, which it is a really nice, super tough stainless steel, and it's arguably one of the best balanced steels in the budget knife world, right? I mean, if you're going to take your knife out and beat on it, right? But the way that most people are going to use these knives, I don't know how much people are going to notice the differences between a steel like 14C28N and a steel like 9CR18MOV. I know some of you will, but not everyone, right? So if you're just looking for a good, cheap knife, you might consider Sencut, which is they're the same company as Civivi, and they just make less expensive knives, right? 9CR18MOV isn't anything special. I don't think it's going to have quite that. Well, actually, edge retention might actually be similar. It's not going to quite have the same toughness. But anyways, that would be a good choice too if you're just looking for a good basic pocket knife that's made just as well. It just doesn't have quite as expensive of a blade material, right? It might be a better choice for you. This is fine. I don't have a problem with the price tag. It's just because it's only like $10 more than I expected it to be, but it is confusing. I'm not sure why they wanted that much for it. But anyways, generally speaking, it is a good, inexpensive knife. And by inexpensive, I mean under $75. That's how I label a budget knife on this channel. I don't think that there's anything special about this knife where you need to be rushing out to buy it. It's okay. So it's going to go in my cheap knives I like playlist. I think if you buy this, you'll be happy with it, but it's nothing special. That's going to be it today, guys. Links for this guy down in the description. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.